I didn't realize how much my family relied on New Year's Eve until the year it stopped working. Every December 31st, we treated midnight like a reset button. Like if we could make it to 12 with smiles on our faces, then the past year's cracks wouldn't follow us into the next one. We weren't superstitious exactly, just desperate. Desperate for one clean night where nobody cried, nobody yelled, nobody brought up the thing we all pretended didn't exist. My mom called it starting fresh. My dad called it tradition. My Aunt Linda called it good vibes only, which was her way of saying, I'll help you hide the mess as long as it doesn't splash on me. My brother Noah called it the annual play. And me? I played the role I'd been assigned early, the one who kept the peace by becoming small. The one who smoothed the edges, who distracted, who joked, who folded napkins into fancy shapes while the adults acted like nothing was wrong. This year, the performance began like always. My parents' house looked like a magazine spread. Mom had gone all out, silver streamers draped across the mantel, twinkling lights wound around the staircase railing, a balloon arch by the sliding door that read 2026 in metallic numbers. There was a fake snow blanket spread across the coffee table with tiny glittery trees poking through it like a holiday diorama. The smell hit me as soon as I opened the door: cinnamon, orange peel, cloves. Mom's simmer pot, the scent she used like a spell. Happy almost New Year, she sang from the kitchen. Happy almost, I called back, forcing cheer into my voice as I kicked off my shoes. She appeared in the doorway wearing a cream sweater that already had flour on the sleeve. Her hair was twisted up in a clip, and her smile was bright in that very specific way it got when she was trying too hard. My mom's smile could be a warning sign. It said, "Please don't ruin this. You made it." She grabbed me in a hug that was quick but tight. "Put your coat on the bed. And, oh, you brought the cider. Perfect." I held up the bag. "And ice. Wonderful." She took it like it was a trophy. "We're going to have such a nice night." That sentence was never a statement. It was a plea. I walked into the living room and found Dad taping a glittery banner above the fireplace: New Year, New Beginnings. The letters sagged a little, and he kept smoothing them like he could press the wrinkles out of the evening. "Hey," he said, turning with a warm smile. "How's my girl?" I hated when he said that. Not because it was wrong, because it sounded right. It sounded like a normal father on a normal holiday. And that made it harder to explain why my chest tightened whenever he walked into a room. "Good," I lied. "Looks festive." He nodded, pleased. "Your mom's been at it all day." "She always is." Dad laughed like I'd made a joke. On the coffee table, Mom had arranged appetizers like a catering spread: deviled eggs, mini quiches, little skewers with cheese and grapes, a charcuterie board cut into a perfect crescent. There were also the good plates stacked neatly, the ones wrapped in tissue all year in the dining room cabinet like sacred artifacts. New Year's Eve in our family wasn't just a holiday. It was a test. A proof that we could be fine. Noah arrived at exactly 8. He always showed up on time for things he didn't want to attend, like punctuality could make it shorter. He wore a gray sweater and dark jeans and carried a 6-pack of craft beer like a shield. He hugged Mom, kissed her cheek, and mouthed, "How bad?" at me over her shoulder. I shrugged, but my stomach was already tight. Aunt Linda arrived next, breezing in as if she owned the night. She wore a sequined top that caught the light and made her sparkle even when she wasn't smiling. Her perfume hit the room first, something expensive and floral. "Happy New Year, my favorite people," she declared, even though it wasn't New Year yet and we weren't her favorite people. Her favorite people were the ones who didn't ask her to feel anything. She handed Mom a bottle of champagne, hugged Dad, and patted Noah's shoulder like he was still 12. Then Nana Elise arrived. My grandmother moved more slowly these days, but her eyes hadn't dulled. She stepped into the house, looked around at the decorations, and nodded once. "Beautiful," she said. Mom's shoulders dropped a fraction, relieved. Nana's approval mattered more than she'd ever admit. We settled into the living room with drinks and appetizers. The TV played some cheerful countdown show, too loud, too enthusiastic. Dad kept trying to get us to take pictures, insisting on multiple takes because someone blinked, someone's smile looked weird, someone was hunched. Linda posed like she was on a red carpet. Noah looked like he'd rather be in traffic. Nana tolerated it, stoic, but I caught her eyes scanning the room, measuring. Watching. For a while, it worked. We played a family trivia game Mom had bought specifically because it was positive. The questions were harmless. We laughed at Linda's dramatic wrong answers. Dad told the same story about his worst New Year hangover like it was tradition. It felt almost normal. Almost. But normal in our family was fragile. It was like ice on a pond, shiny on top, dangerous underneath. At 10:30, Mom announced the word of the year, tradition. "Okay," she clapped, beaming. "Everyone pick a word for 2026. One word you want to guide your year. Something you want more of." She liked this ritual because it forced optimism. It made everyone say something nice, something safe. Dad went first. "Gratitude," he said, smiling at Mom like he was presenting her with jewelry. Mom pressed her hand to her chest. "Oh, Harold." Linda said, "Abundance," and winked like she was making a joke about money. Nana said, "Clarity." She didn't smile when she said it. She looked at each of us like she wanted us to understand she meant it. Noah hesitated, then said, "Boundaries." Mom laughed a little too loudly. "That's a big one." Noah shrugged. "Yeah." Mom turned to me. "Sweetheart?" My throat tightened. The word I wanted was honesty. But honesty in our family was like gasoline. We didn't light it near open flames. We pretended it wasn't there. So I said, "Stability." Mom's face lit up, relieved. "Perfect." Dad nodded like he approved. "Stability is important." Noah's eyes flicked toward me, and I knew he knew what I'd done. I'd chosen the word that meant "please don't make tonight worse." Mom clapped again. "Okay. Now we." She stopped mid-sentence. Because Dad's phone buzzed on the coffee table. It was a tiny sound. A normal sound. But Dad reached for it too fast. He flipped it face down with a casualness that wasn't casual at all. Mom saw it. Of course she did. Her smile froze. Her shoulders lifted slightly like she'd been splashed with cold water. Dad cleared his throat. "Work." Mom's eyes stayed on the phone. "On New Year's?" Dad shrugged. "It's nothing." Linda chuckled. "That's rude. Whoever it is, they should let you have one night off." Dad smiled. "Exactly." But Mom was already standing, moving closer. "Let me see." Dad tilted the phone away. "Carol, don't." Mom's voice stayed light, but it shook at the edges. "If it's nothing, show me." The room went still. Noah sat up straighter. Nana's gaze sharpened. Linda blinked, confused, then looked at me as if I knew what line she was supposed to say next. Dad laughed, but it came out brittle. "Are we really doing this in front of everyone?" Mom swallowed. "Doing what?" "This." He gestured vaguely, like her question was a nuisance. Mom's cheeks flushed. "Harold. Let me see the phone." Dad's jaw tightened. "No." The word landed like a slap. Mom's eyes widened. "Why not?" Dad's voice stayed controlled, but there was an edge. "Because you don't get to demand things from me." Mom laughed, but it sounded wrong, like it hurt her. I'm your wife. I'm not demanding, I'm asking. And you're acting like you're hiding something. Dad's eyes flashed. You always do this. Mom's voice cracked slightly. Do what? Ask. Dad leaned closer. Make a scene. Noah exhaled sharply, angry. I stood up without thinking. Dad. Dad looked at me like I'd ruined his shot. Mom reached toward the phone again. Dad stepped back, holding it against his chest like a secret. And the old fear rose in me, the memory of other nights, other moments when the mood shifted and we all braced for impact. Nana's hand tightened on her glass. Linda whispered, okay, let's just. But Nana lifted one finger, silent, and Linda stopped. Nana didn't even look at her. She just held the room. Dad's voice went lower. Carol. Stop. Mom's eyes shone. Who is texting you? Dad's smile was gone. Nobody. Mom's voice trembled now. Then show me. Dad shook his head. No. The room felt like a cord pulled tight. Then Nana Elise spoke. Her voice was calm, quiet. It didn't try to soothe. It didn't try to soften. You're lying, Nana said. Dad snapped his head toward her. Excuse me? Nana didn't blink. You're lying. Dad scoffed. Mom, don't start. I'm not starting, Nana replied. I'm naming. Dad's face flushed. It's New Year's Eve. Nana nodded. Yes. And your wife is terrified to ask you a question in her own home. Mom made a small sound, like she'd been punched. Dad's eyes narrowed. That is ridiculous. Nana's gaze went to Mom, not Dad. Carol, how many times have you apologized for his mood? Mom's mouth opened, but no sound came out. How many times have you said, he's tired, he's stressed, he didn't mean it? Nana continued. Mom's eyes filled. Linda's voice wavered. Grandma, what are you? Nana held up her hand again, quiet, firm. Hush. Dad's voice sharpened. You don't know what you're talking about. Nana leaned forward slightly. And then she said the sentence. The one sentence that ruined the night. The one sentence that made the glitter and balloons feel like props in a tragedy. Your father did the same thing to me, Nana said. Silence. Not awkward silence. Not tense silence. The kind that makes your ears ring, the kind that feels like the house itself stopped breathing. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Her eyes widened, and something in her face changed, like a lock clicking open. Dad's face went blank. What did you say? Nana didn't look at him. She looked at Mom. He made everything look perfect. He made the neighbors think we were a happy family. And he made me believe the problem was me. Linda's eyes were huge. But Grandpa was strict? Nana supplied. Her mouth tightened. That's what we called it. Dad's laugh came out sharp. This is insane. Noah's voice was low. Is it? Dad swung toward him. Don't talk to me like that. Noah stood. Like what? Like I'm not afraid of you? Mom flinched at the word afraid, like it was a forbidden thing said out loud. Dad turned to Mom, desperate now, anger and panic mixing. Carol, tell them this is ridiculous. Mom stared at him, trembling. For a moment, I saw the old habit pulling at her. Fix this, smooth it, apologize. I'd watched her do it my whole life. She could fold herself into any shape that kept the peace. Then Nana said gently, Carol, you don't have to protect him. Mom's breath hitched. She looked at Nana, then Noah, then me. And something in her spine straightened. I'm not protecting him, Mom said quietly. Dad froze. Carol. Mom wiped her eyes, but she didn't apologize. I've been asking you for months. About why you turn your phone over. About why you leave the room to take calls. About who you're texting. Dad scoffed. You're paranoid. Mom's voice cracked, but she held it. And you keep calling me that. Linda whispered, Harold. Dad snapped, stay out of it. Noah took a step forward. Stop talking to her like she's crazy. Dad's eyes went cold. Sit down. Noah didn't. The room vibrated with old patterns trying to reassert themselves. Dad looked at me like I was the audience he could still win. Say something. My heart pounded. I could feel the familiar urge to mediate, to soften, to make a joke. That was my role. That was my training. But Nana's sentence had cracked something open in me too. I swallowed and said, show us the phone. Dad stared at me like I'd betrayed him. No. Mom whispered, Harold, please. Dad's jaw clenched. No. Nana exhaled slowly. Then we already have the answer. Dad pointed at her, shaking with rage. You are poisoning my family. Nana's gaze was steady. I am telling the truth. Dad stepped toward Mom, voice dropping into that dangerous softness. Carol. You're tired. It's late. Everyone's emotional. Tomorrow you'll regret. Mom lifted her hand. Stop. The word was small. But it hit. Dad blinked. What? Mom's voice trembled, but it was clear. Stop talking to me like I'm a child. Stop talking to me like I'm nothing. Dad's nostrils flared. I have never. Mom cut him off, surprising all of us. Yes, you have. Dad's face changed, shock, then anger. Don't do this. Mom's eyes shone with tears. I'm done doing this. Dad laughed, bitter. You're leaving me because my phone buzzed? Mom's mouth twisted, hurt flashing. No. I'm leaving you because I've been living like one wrong question will make you punish me. Linda gasped. Noah's eyes flashed. Nana's mouth tightened, satisfied in a sad way. Dad's voice rose. Punish you? What is wrong with you? Mom shook her head slowly. What's wrong with me is that I believed you when you told me I was crazy. Dad stood there, phone still clutched to his chest. Then the phone buzzed again. Everyone heard it. Dad's eyes flicked down involuntarily. Buzz. Again. The person on the other end was impatient. Dad's fingers twitched. He didn't mean to. He looked. Just for a second. But in that second, I saw it. A woman's name I didn't recognize. And the preview, Are you alone? My stomach dropped so hard it felt like falling. Dad's face went pale when he realized I'd seen it. When he realized Nana had been right. I didn't even have to say it. My expression did. Nana's voice was quiet, almost tired. There it is. Linda made a strangled sound. Oh my God. Mom stared at the phone like it was a weapon. Her breathing turned shallow. Who is she? Dad's voice rushed out, frantic. It's not what it looks like. Noah laughed once, sharp. Classic. Dad snapped, shut up. Mom didn't move. She didn't blink. Who is she? Dad's eyes darted around the room like he was looking for an escape hatch. It's complicated. Mom nodded slowly, like she'd expected that too. Like every evasive answer was a brick in a wall that was finally complete. Nana stood up, pushing off the armchair carefully. Carol, she said softly, get your coat. Mom turned toward the hallway. Dad's voice cracked. Carol. Don't. Mom paused, back to him. Don't what? Don't leave, he said, and the vulnerability in his voice would have been convincing if it hadn't come after years of control. Mom didn't turn around. I'm not leaving you because you texted someone, she said, voice steady. I'm leaving you because you made me feel like I had to beg for the truth. She disappeared down the hall. Noah followed instantly. Mom, I'm coming with you. Linda stood too, shaking. Carol, wait. Please, just. But Nana looked at Linda, and her eyes softened. Let her go. She needs to. Linda covered her mouth and nodded, tears spilling. Dad stood in the middle of the living room like a man who'd lost the script. He turned on Nana. You did this. Nana's gaze didn't flinch. No, Harold. You did. Dad's voice was low. You always hated me. Nana's lips pressed together. That's not true. I loved you. That's why I'm angry. Because I watched you become the thing that hurt me. Dad's eyes flashed. I'm not him. Nana's voice was calm. Then prove it. Tell the truth. Dad's jaw worked. He looked like he wanted to argue, but the phone in his hand was evidence heavier than any words. Noah returned with Mom's coat draped over his arm. Mom followed, holding her purse. Her face was blotchy from crying, but her eyes were clearer than I'd ever seen them. She stopped in the doorway, looking at the living room like she was seeing it from the outside for the first time, the decorations, the food, the banner screaming new beginnings. Like a cruel joke. Her gaze went to Dad's phone. So, she said quietly. It wasn't work. Dad's throat worked. Carol. Mom shook her head. Don't. One word. Same as before. Stop. Dad swallowed. We can talk about this. Mom's laugh was soft, sad. We've been talking about this for months. You've just been talking around it. Noah stepped beside her, keys in hand. We're going. Dad's face twisted. You're turning my kids against me. Noah's voice was flat. You did that yourself. Linda wiped her tears, inhaled, and said, Carol, you can come to my place. Mom's eyes widened. Linda. Linda's voice shook. I have a guest room. You can stay. Please. Dad snapped, Linda, don't. Linda looked at him like he was a stranger. Don't what? Help her? Be a sister? Dad's mouth opened, then closed. Nana reached for Mom's arm, gentle. Let's go. Mom nodded, and for a second she looked like she might apologize, muscle memory, but Nana squeezed her hand, and Mom didn't. They walked out. Noah held the door. Cold air rushed in and made the balloon arch sway slightly like it was bowing. Linda went too, grabbing her coat at the last second. And suddenly, it was just me and Dad. The TV played its cheerful broadcast. People in Times Square screamed with joy, the screen full of confetti and bright smiles. The microwave clock read 11:52. 8 minutes until midnight. Dad stood under the glitter banner, his phone still in his hand. He looked around as if the room might rearrange itself back into the version he wanted. Then he looked at me. You're leaving too, he said, voice tight. I swallowed. My hands were shaking, but my voice came out clear. Yes. His face contorted, anger fighting panic. After everything I've done for you? There it was, the old line. The one that turned love into debt. The one that made children feel guilty for having needs. I felt something inside me go quiet, like a door shutting. I said, that's not love. Dad flinched, like I'd hit him. He stepped closer. Don't do this. Don't make me the villain. I looked at him, and I realized he truly believed he wasn't. He truly believed our family existed to support his version of reality. I'm not making you anything, I said. I'm just not pretending anymore. Dad's voice dropped, dangerous and soft. You think you know everything. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was familiar. It was the way he'd always tried to regain control, diminish, confuse, intimidate. But Nana had named it. Mom had broken the script. Noah had stood up. Linda had offered a safe place. The spell was cracked. Dad's phone buzzed again. He looked down automatically. And something in me snapped, not into anger, but into clarity. I reached up and tore the banner off the wall. The tape peeled easily. The glitter letters sagged in my hands like limp promises. Dad stared at me, shocked. What are you doing? I dropped it onto the coffee table. Taking down the lie, I said. His face reddened. You're being dramatic. I shook my head. No. You were dramatic. We were just surviving. Dad's breath came hard. This is my house. I nodded. And you made it feel like none of us belonged. His eyes narrowed. You're all ungrateful. Maybe, I said softly. Or maybe we're finally honest. The countdown on TV started. A loud voice, cheerful, oblivious. 10. 9. 8. Dad looked at the screen like he could still salvage the ritual. 7. 6. His phone buzzed again. 5. Dad's hand tightened around it, caught between the lie and the truth. 4. 3. 2. 1. Happy New Year, the TV shouted. Confetti exploded on screen. Strangers kissed. Music blared. In the living room, there was no cheer. Dad stood there, alone, under the mantel lights, the decorations suddenly pathetic. I pulled my coat from the hook by the door. My hands were steadier now. Dad's voice cracked. Please don't leave. I paused with my hand on the doorknob. For a second, my old self wanted to turn around. To comfort him. To fix it. To smooth the edges because that's what I'd always done. Then Nana's sentence echoed in my head. Your father did the same thing to me. And I understood why it mattered so much. It wasn't just an accusation. It was a warning. A map of what happens when people keep pretending for decades. I didn't want that map to be my future. I didn't turn around. I said, quietly, I hope this year you tell the truth. Even if it's only to yourself. Then I stepped outside into the cold. The air smelled like fireworks and wood smoke. Somewhere down the street, neighbors were cheering, clinking glasses, starting their year with wishes. I sat in my car for a moment and let my hands rest on the steering wheel. My phone buzzed. A group message from Noah, we're at Linda's. Mom's okay. Nana's running the show. Come when you can. A message from Linda, we have cocoa. And extra blankets. And if you need to cry, Nana said you're allowed but you have to drink something warm first. A message from Mom, just 2 words, I'm sorry. I stared at it, my throat tight. Mom always apologized. For needing. For feeling. For wanting truth. I typed back, no. You're brave. Then I started the car. As I drove to Linda's, my mind kept replaying that one sentence, the one that had ruined the night. Not because it was cruel. Not because it was dramatic. Because it was honest. And honesty, in a family built on pretending, isn't a spark. It's a match to a room full of gas. But once the flame is lit, you can finally see the walls. Linda's house glowed when I pulled up. Soft light behind curtains. A porch lamp that made the snow on the steps glitter. Inside, I heard laughter, small, tired laughter, but real. The kind that happened when people weren't performing. I stepped in and was hit by the smell of cocoa and peppermint. Noah met me at the door, pulling me into a hug that lasted longer than our family hugs ever did at Mom's house. His arms felt solid, protective. "You okay?" he asked, voice low. I nodded, even though my eyes were already burning. "Yeah. I think so." Mom sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket. Her hair was down, messy, and she looked younger somehow, like her face wasn't holding a constant apology anymore. When she saw me, she stood and walked toward me hesitantly, like she wasn't sure she was allowed to take up space. I stepped forward first and hugged her. She clung to me, shaking. "I'm sorry," she whispered into my shoulder, automatic. I pulled back and looked at her. "Stop," I said softly. Her eyes widened. I smiled through tears. "Not you. Not tonight." She blinked, then laughed, tiny, broken, but genuine. "Okay." Nana sat in an armchair like a queen, hands wrapped around a mug. She looked at me over the rim and nodded. "Good," she said simply. Linda hovered near the kitchen, wiping her eyes and pretending she wasn't. "Do you want marshmallows? Or is that too childish?" Noah snorted. "Marshmallows are essential." Linda tossed a marshmallow at him. It bounced off his sweater and fell on the floor. Nana frowned. 5-second rule is for picnics, not living rooms. Noah picked it up and ate it anyway, grinning. Mom laughed again, surprised by herself. I sank onto the couch beside her, and for a moment, the weight of what had happened pressed down. We had detonated our family's illusion on the one night we clung to it most. We had crossed an invisible line. We had chosen truth over tradition. And even though it hurt, even though my chest still felt tight with grief and disbelief, there was also something else beneath it, a strange, unfamiliar lightness. Like stepping out of a room where you've been holding your breath for years. Noah leaned back and stared at the ceiling. "So," he said, voice casual in a forced way, "best New Year's ever?" Linda laughed through a sniffle. "It's definitely the most memorable." Mom's fingers twisted in the blanket fringe. "I don't know what happens now." Nana's voice was steady. "Now you stop pretending." Mom swallowed. "But, he's still." Nana cut in gently. "Your husband is a grown man. You are not responsible for managing his emotions." Mom's eyes filled. "I don't know how not to." Nana reached over and covered Mom's hand with hers. "You learn," she said. Slowly. "Like I had to." Linda's voice was small. "Grandma, why didn't you ever tell us?" Nana's eyes softened. "Because I was ashamed. Because I thought if I kept it quiet, it didn't exist. Because I thought protecting you meant protecting the image." She sighed. "And because I didn't want you to see me as weak." Noah's voice cracked slightly. "You're not weak." Nana gave him a look. "I know." That made him smile, shaky. We sat together, the four of us, in a quiet that didn't feel like fear. It felt like exhaustion, like the aftermath of a storm. Then Mom whispered, "When you said Grandpa did the same thing." I felt like the ground disappeared. Nana nodded. "That's what truth does at first. It pulls the rug out." Mom stared at her mug. "But then you realize you've been standing on a rug covering a hole," Nana said. Mom let out a breath, and it sounded like surrender. Or maybe relief. I looked around Linda's living room, simple, cozy, imperfect. No balloon arches. No glitter banners. No performance. Just us, messy and real. And I realized something, our New Year's night wasn't ruined by that sentence. It was ruined for the illusion. But maybe the illusion deserved to be ruined. Because the illusion had been costing us everything. A few minutes later, Noah checked his phone. "Dad's texting me," he said, tone flat. Mom stiffened instantly, old reflex. "What is he saying?" Noah's eyes scanned. He swallowed. "He's saying, he's sorry. He wants you to come home. He says Nana put poison in your head." Nana snorted. Classic. Mom's breath came fast. "I can't." I took her hand. "You don't have to answer tonight." Mom blinked, and it was like she was hearing that concept for the first time. Nana nodded approvingly. "Exactly. Tonight you rest. Tomorrow you make plans." Linda's voice was wary. "What plans?" Nana looked at Mom. "Legal plans," she said, not unkindly. "Financial plans. Safety plans." Mom flinched at the word safety like it was too extreme. Nana leaned in. "Carol, listen to me. He may not hit you. He may not scream. But he has trained you to fear his moods. That is not love." Mom's eyes filled again. She whispered, "I always thought I was overreacting." Nana's gaze was fierce. "You were underreacting. Because he taught you to." The room went quiet again. The TV in Linda's kitchen played some leftover holiday show, muffled. Outside, fireworks popped in the distance, like the world still believed in clean beginnings. Mom wiped her face. "I don't know who I am without trying to make him happy." Noah's voice was soft. "You're our mom. You're Carol. He swallowed, struggling. "You're someone who deserves to be happy too." Mom's lips trembled. "I wanted tonight to be perfect." I squeezed her hand. "It was never going to be perfect," I said gently. "But it can be real." Linda laughed softly, sad. "Real is underrated." Nana raised her mug. "To real," she said. Noah raised his. "To boundaries." Linda raised hers. "To cocoa and emotional breakthroughs." Mom hesitated, then lifted her mug too. Her hands still shook, but she did it. "To clarity," she whispered. Nana's eyes softened. "There you go." We clinked mugs gently, like we were afraid the sound might break something. But nothing broke. If anything, something held. Later, when the house quieted and the cocoa turned lukewarm, Mom fell asleep on the couch with a blanket tucked around her. Her face looked peaceful, not because everything was solved, but because she wasn't performing anymore. Noah and I sat on the floor, backs against the couch, talking in low voices. Linda cleaned the kitchen too aggressively to avoid thinking. Nana watched us all like a sentinel, like she was guarding the fragile new truth we'd stumbled into. I thought about Dad alone in the decorated living room, under the glitter banner. I thought about the phone buzzing. The name on the screen. The message, "Are you alone?" Part of me felt sick with anger. Part of me felt grief. And part of me felt something I didn't expect, certainty. Because for years, I'd feared the truth like it was a monster. But the truth wasn't the monster. The pretending was. The pretending had taken my mom's voice, my brother's peace, my aunt's honesty, my grandmother's years, my own nervous system. Pretending had been the thing that hurt us. The sentence Nana said didn't ruin the night. It ruined the lie. Around 3 in the morning, I stepped outside onto Linda's porch for air. The cold bit my cheeks. The neighborhood was quiet now, the celebrations finished. A few stray sparks from distant fireworks drifted down like dying fireflies. My phone buzzed. A message from Dad. Just one line. You're all overreacting. I stared at it. My thumb hovered. Old me would have answered carefully, politely, as if I could negotiate peace. Old me would have said something like, "We'll talk tomorrow." But the new year had already begun, and I was tired of playing my role. I typed back. "No. We're finally reacting correctly." Then I turned my phone off. Inside, Linda's house was warm, imperfect, safe. I went back in, took a blanket, and sat near Mom's sleeping form. I watched her breathe, slow and even, like her body was learning a new rhythm. Nana looked over at me, her eyes softer than before. "You did good," she said quietly. I shook my head. "I didn't do anything." "You did." Nana's mouth tightened. "I should have done it sooner." I hesitated, then asked the question that had been itching under my skin since her sentence landed. "Why did you stay?" I whispered. Nana's gaze drifted toward the window, into the dark. "Because I thought leaving meant failure," she said. "Because I was afraid. Because I didn't want to start over. Because back then, women didn't have a lot of options." She looked at me again. "And because I loved him. Loving someone doesn't always protect you from them." The words hit deep, heavy. I nodded slowly. Nana reached out and patted my knee. "But you have options. You have each other. That makes a difference." I looked at Mom asleep, at Noah resting his head against the couch, at Linda finally sitting down and letting herself be tired. And I realized Nana was right. We had each other. That was the beginning. Not a glitter banner, not a countdown, not a forced toast. Just the quiet, stubborn decision to stop pretending. In the morning, things wouldn't magically be fixed. There would be calls and tears and logistics and hard choices. There would be moments Mom would doubt herself, moments Dad would try to pull her back with charm or anger or guilt. There would be family members who would choose the comfort of the old story over the discomfort of the truth. But tonight, this New Year's night, we had crossed the line where reality starts. And even though one sentence had ruined the holiday, it had also given us something we'd never had before. A chance at a life that didn't require pretending. A beginning that wasn't decorated, but honest. A new year that started with clarity. And maybe, for the first time, that was enough.